Hi Paula, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good.
So you have an issue that you'd like to share today. Maybe I can help you with. Would you like to go ahead and describe what's going on for you?
Yeah. So what's been happening lately, and it feels like it's getting worse, is as the weather becomes more wintry here in the Kootenays, I'm finding growing difficulty with driving in the snow. It feels like I've developed a full-blown phobia when driving in the snow.
Okay. So do you want to tell me, you say you feel like you've developed a phobia, so do you want to tell me just a little bit more about what that is feeling like for you?
Sure.
What are some of the feelings?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the feeling that I can most put my finger on is fear.
Okay.
Fear and panic are the feelings that I would use to describe it.
Okay. Okay, and so how do you feel that that's impacting, like is that impacting your life in certain ways or your decisions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really just ruling my life actually since the first snowfall. So it's preventing me from actually living my authentic life. It's prevented me many times from going to class.
Okay.
And so I live in Nelson, going to school in Castlegar, and if it's been snowing, then sometimes I'll get in the car and start driving and drive, just to the highway, just to see, and then the panic will set in, and 99.99% of the time I will turn around and go back home. Okay. So it has really impacted my life that way. It's impacted my life in the way that I work in Castlegar, so there have been times where I'm either at work and I need to come back home and it's snowing and I feel paralyzed, or I'm at work and I'm at home and I need to go to work and I feel paralyzed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you been able to identify what your fear actually is?
Yeah, I fear dying.
Okay. Okay, so it's a fear of dying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of being in an accident and being either severely injured or death, or actually mainly just being in an accident.
Okay.
And losing control. So that feeling of when the car starts to slide, losing control just creates such a panic in me. Yeah.
Okay. Where do you think those fears have come from? Or have you, like for example, have you had any previous accidents or experiences that you think may have caused the fears that you're having?
Yeah, no. No, I just feel like I've seen a lot of accidents. I feel like it's almost like my time to be in an accident because I've seen so many. There was one right in front of me on the highway this winter.
Okay.
So it's not that I've actually been in an accident, but I just feel like, I mean, I've definitely been in where the car is slid, or I mean, a couple times I've ended up on the other side of the road. So I mean, I feel really blessed that I've not been in an accident, but it just feels like it's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Okay. Sort of like it's your, as you said, it's your turn. It's okay. Okay. So let me just ask you a couple of factual questions, just that have to do with the driving. Do you have confidence in your vehicle? Like, does your vehicle perform well in the snow?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it did. I've never really driven such a small car before, so that part was new, moving back to the Kootenays. But in the past when I lived in the Kootenays, I had an SUV, so now I have a little car. So I thought that it it was good. And then last weekend I had an opportunity to drive a friend's car home from Kimberley, and it was this beautiful SUV with all the bells and whistles, and I realized when I was driving her vehicle back in the snow over the pass that a lot of my fear probably does come from the size of my car, which is very, very small. So, yeah.
So would it be correct to say that maybe then you don't feel as protected in the vehicle that you're driving?
Now. Before I drove her car, I thought I was fine, and since I've done that, I'm now feeling even less confident in the safety of my vehicle. So that definitely is part of it, I think.
Okay. And then the other practical question was just around your driving ability. Do you feel confident in your driving ability? Like, did you come from this area? Are you familiar with winter driving in the mountains?
Yeah, no, I don't come from this area, so I did experience this winter driving later on in my 30s when I first moved to the Kootenays. So I'm very confident in my driving in normal weather.
Okay.
But now, since I've developed this fear around driving in the winter, now it's manifested itself to not being able to drive even when it rains. And now I've actually extended this driving phobia to driving at night. So if I am driving at night, I am just as fearful as I am when I'm driving in the snow now. So it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay. So do you think that maybe then more than it being snow specific, because what I'm hearing you say is that it's increasing, like the phobia is increasing to times when it's raining, to times when it's dark. And so do you feel that it's the fear around driving in general, and the fear of being in a situation of being out of control, and hence the fear of dying? Does that resonate with you?
It does, that sounds right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just shift gears a little bit and just talk about that fear of dying in a motor vehicle accident, and what your thoughts are around the evidence that this is likely to happen. Like, do you looking at the statistics of the number of people, I mean, I don't know if you've researched that, but people that die in motor vehicle accidents, do you think that it is likely that you will die in a motor vehicle accident, or?
Well, I have actually done the research, and I absolutely believe that it is not likely that I die in a motor vehicle accident. However, people do die in a motor vehicle accident, and I also realize that people die stepping off the curb on Baker Street. So I get that part. So I've done the research. There is there's definitely a high amount of deaths in the Kootenays due to motor vehicle accidents in bad weather, and as there are in any Canadian city that has bad winter weather. But yeah, so I mean, I really deep down do believe that the likelihood of dying in a motor vehicle accident is just as likely in the middle of a dry, hot summer day as it is in the winter in the Kootenays. So the practical part of my brain knows that, and so
right, the intellectual part knows it. Yeah, because many people drive on the roads in the wintertime and don't get into accidents, right? Now, so over this past winter, because we've had quite a number of snow days, have there been any situations where you've stepped into that fear and you've driven to Castlegar to school anyway, even though you were afraid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I've definitely done that. I've done a couple things that I'm working on. One is I would never accept a drive from anybody else on a snowy day, so I would just either not go. You're only allowed to missed classes, so I would definitely fulfill my 2 missed classes.
Yeah.
Or I took the bus one day, so I forced myself to go, but organized getting on the bus at 6 in the morning. During the snowy day, it was basically an hour and a half of pure terror,
Yeah.
even though it was maneuvering fine and
Okay.
getting around just great. And the other thing I pushed through was driving with others. So
Okay.
there were a couple times where I was like, no, I'm not going to go, and my carpool people would just say, we're coming to get you
Okay.
now, so
So,
get here.
so how did those strategies, because it sounds like you were intentional about taking the bus, traveling with others, putting your trust in the hands of others, how did that impact you in terms of how you feel about your fear?
Well, I felt really accomplished, actually. I felt
Okay.
really good, and I felt really good about it. But at the same time, I also feel really bad because of the people I carpool with. I don't want to drive them crazy with these crazy fears, and I know that I appreciate that they're trying to tune me out as much as they can. But so I want to go. And I don't want to be doing the backseat driving thing, but I feel like it's so hard. I've tried really hard to not do that. So, yeah, to answer your question, I do feel really accomplished once I get my feet on the ground and I'm at home and I get in the door and I just have a moment to think about that accomplishment, then I am happy.
Okay. So you've already tried out some strategies, right? And they've helped you.
Yeah.
They've empowered you. Would you be willing to try the strategy of, we call it exposure, progressive graduated exposure, whereby we would set up a strategy where you're going to step into your fear, right? So you're going to get in that car on a winter's day and it's snowing, and we can talk about some other strategies perhaps around breathing and mindfulness that will prepare you for that driving experience. But then to step into that fear and do it, and the more you do that, I think the more you will feel accomplished and overcome that fear. Do you think that that's something that you would be willing to try?
Yeah, absolutely.
In some regards, you've already begun that because you did drive into Castlegar on some snowy days where you were afraid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So based on the evidence, you said it's already given you a little bit of confidence.
It has, and I would love to try the exposure therapy just so that I could just continue that practice. I think that I'm never really going to get over it, but if I practice enough, that I will get to a point where I physiologically am not in a state of panic like that, because it takes me so long to come down from that state of panic that it's even useless to go to school because I'm so in such a state by the time I get there. So I would love to try exposure therapy.
Okay. And would you be interested in talking through some other techniques for breathing?
Virus database has been updated.
And mindfulness, and so that you have some tools before the fear takes over. And then perhaps, when you do it, maybe the first few times you're going to have that anxiety, even maybe afterward, and then you can use those strategies. So if you would be interested in learning about some of those techniques, then we can work on that together as well.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So, well, we'll leave it at that for today, and then we'll, in our session next time, we'll start working on some of those awareness and mindfulness strategies.
Great. Thank you, Kim.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Paula.
Okay.